This is a quick tabletop view of a Smith and Wesson Model 625, specifically 625-8. Most of you that watch my channel know I usually have reviews of military or historical or antique firearms. And what in the world would this one have in common with that? Well, it's simple in the fact of its caliber, being a 625-8 at 45 ACP. This is a performance center edition of that model. Now, how it relates back to a military firearm would be in the fact that its predecessor, remotely, I'll admit, was a Model M1917. Now that gun was to supplement the Model 1911. This was the military adopted sidearm of the time. World War I broke out. The caliber of 45 ACP was the caliber, of course, they were going to. Well, they didn't have enough 1911s to equip the Army with, or the military with, and the result was they contracted several of the, two, Smith and Wesson and Colt, to produce the Revolver in that, which was the M1917 in that caliber, the 45 ACP. The problem with that is that the 45 ACP is a rimless cartridge. And of course, revolvers like rimmed cartridges simply for extraction purposes and for head spacing. Of course, the 45 ACP can be head spaced easily on these firearms just by having the chamber with that cut in it to accept it. But what happens, as I'm going to use a dummy round to demonstrate, is the round falls in so deep, or rather than being falling deep, it has no way to be extracted by the star extractor on the firearm. It simply slides past it. Now, while it can be fired this way, what we normally do now, I have to eject it using this dowel, is we introduce moon clips into the equation. Now, the moon clip simply gives the round enough of a rim that the star extractor can work on it. Now, of course, a rimmed cartridge like this single action without the swing out cylinder, of course you put it on half cock, and the extractor plunger here is used to extract them one at a time. Then the firearm is reloaded in the same manner, one cartridge at a time. Gates closed, it's ready to fire. With the star extractor, reloading is much faster, the swing out cylinder, and with the moon clip, it acted as a speed loader. Here's dummy rounds loaded up in a moon clip, quickly dropped right into the cylinder, closed, fired. Once all rounds are fired, the rounds, in this case the dummy rounds, can be extracted as one group and quickly reloaded again. Now, some people don't like these moon clips for the fact of they have to be reloaded each time. It's almost an additional step. But personally, I think they're quite handy. They act as speed loaders. Before I go shooting, I will just load up however many of these moon clips I want. I've got dozens and dozens of them. I'll just take them along, loaded. Then when I'm done shooting for the day, I bring them back home, unload them, and just a simple matter of this tool I kind of made. Simply a piece of 1/2 inch plumbing pipe. It's a nipple with a cap on the end of it and the tip ground off. You can see it slips right over the cartridge. A simple twist, the cartridge comes off, falls down in the homemade tool. Cartridges are then just dumped out into my ammo bucket. Now to reload them can be a very well, make your fingers somewhat sore. I've made this simple little tool. These are available commercially, as are the unloading tools. Cartridge simply placed in the appropriate location, a little squeeze, and it loads it. So just a couple little tips if you don't like the thought of having to load or unload moon clips. Well, simply load them or unload them before or after you go shooting, and to me, that's actually part of the fun of shooting, reloading, unloading. It's all part of the hobby. It doesn't bother me a bit. Now let's move ahead in time to when this gun came out. 1988 was when the Model 625 was introduced, specifically for competition shooting. This performance center gun takes that to an extreme. Superb trigger pull. The sights were not to my liking when I got the gun, but I've modified it into something I enjoy to shoot. The trigger pull right now is about, it's factory. Came from the factory with a 2-pound trigger pull and single action. In double action, it pushes the envelope at 11 pounds, but it's still very smooth. Now, as I said, I changed the sights out. You can see this has the more traditional red ramp front sight and white outline rear sight, which I replaced both. The rear sight, of course, on a Smith and Wesson is a little more difficult to change. Can be a little intimidating because you have to actually break the screw, the adjustment screw, and then place it back with a new one. So it's a little more intimidating proposition. The front sight on these modern Smith and Wesson is extremely easy to replace. You can see it has a pin in there. This is simply spring loaded. You push it to the rear, lift it out, and put a new one in. The front sight it came with is actually this one, and you can see it is a brass dot sight. To me, trying to fit a round peg in a square hole just didn't work as far as sights go, and that's why I ended up with the white outline and red ramp that I'm used to on my Smith and Wesson revolvers. In comparison, the trigger pull on, say, this 1911 that I just had out, that has about a 3-pound trigger pull, whereas I mentioned this one's at 2 pounds, or 3 pounds. The 1911 is 6 pounds. Excuse me, I had them wrong. The Colt single action actually has an Evil Roy trigger job on it. This is a Cimarron, and it's actually down about 2 pounds. Extremely light. Strictly for competition. I'd never used anything like this in self-defense. Originally, this gun also came with these grips. These red, white, and blue. I believe they were made by Hogue. I found them to be very slick, somewhat large for my hands. I have short fingers, and really it's a matter of opinion. If you find those grips, I've heard people call them clown grips, if you find them attractive, they're rather a square butt conversion grip. Converts the round butt to a square butt. Most Smith & Wessons today come as round butts. I tried these. I've tried several grips, but these I tried and found them to be excellent with the finger grips on them, and I find them attractive. There's just enough checkering and decoration to give it some grip, and right now these are my preferred grip. There you can see the performance symbol emblem on it, the Smith and Wesson Performance Center, and the caliber 45 ACP. And then on this center they roll mark Performance Center right on the barrel itself. So if you enjoyed this review, let me know and we'll do more on some more modern firearms, perhaps even the ones I just mentioned before. And if you like shooting unusual guns, this might be one for you. You can see this is an end frame, I might mention also. The cylinder is short because it is a 45 ACP. If it was, say, a 44 Magnum, the cylinder would completely fill that area in there. Some people find that as a detriment to the looks of the gun. Personally, I have no problem with that. I think it's a wonderful looking pistol, as most Smith and Wessons I think are. So I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks a lot for watching.